Team Baxter.
So I'm starting the kit, and right off I'm opening bag A, and I start to notice that the bags are labeled A1, A2, A3, A4, and so on. The numbers in the manual are clearly marked A1, A2, so the parts in each bag are labeled by page in the manual. Bag A1, step A1. So the motor mount went together quick and easy, just a couple pieces and a couple screws going in there. Next I'll put the transmission gears into the gear case. So I've got the main gears of the 2-speed transmission put together, and I'm starting to put together a couple shafts. They say to use thread lock, and I haven't found any. There's this one tube of what I assume is thread lock, but this being red, I'm going to go ahead and use my own Loctite thread lock, the one that I use on all my vehicles, just because that's unidentified and the manual does not have a manifesto stating exactly what everything is. I've got all the transmission gears built with double gears since it's a 2-speed servo. You got your high end and your low end, and along with the selector that goes in to pick your high and low. So all this now gets assembled into the gearbox that I built earlier, and then it gets closed up with the other half. The transmission's built now. It's pretty hefty with those metal gears in there. I don't know how heavy it is with the stock plastic gears in there, but it's got a considerable amount of weight to it with those metal gears. Everything went together pretty simply. The manual, it wasn't clear on a few steps, but you could figure it out. So now the transmission's built, and I'm going to go ahead and move on to the motor, getting the motor mount and slipper, all that built. Here's all the parts of the slipper. It's the first time in any of my RC builds that I've seen a thick plastic slipper. It's pretty good. A lot of times they're paper or really thin shard of plastic. This is a pretty decent size slipper. There's 2 of them, one on each side. So the transmission's together, and I got the mounting plate that goes into the motor mount onto the motor. Putting the axial 27 turn on here. I think the stock motor on the RTR is a 15 turn. Wanted something with just a little bit more torque, and I thought 35 might be too much, so I went with this axial 27 turn. Can always switch it out. This one has a slider style motor mount, so you just put it in there and it sits on that little fin, and you close it up and the motor slides back and forth so you can set your gear mesh. There's a screw that goes in there to hold that down, but really like this style of motor mount. It's easy to get the motor out. I have some similar. This is a little different than the other ones I have, but still similar setup. Really like these. A lot of people don't like these because they move and all, but they work pretty well. If you don't over tighten the screws, it does pretty well. But anyway, I always thought that was neat. So I got that on, and then I'm gonna put the gear cover on and just about finished with the transmission. So I got the motor mounted, went on there really easy, and I got the gear mesh set pretty good. And I just put the Spur gear cover over. It's really a little unique. I haven't seen many Spur gear covers with the screws at the top. That helps out a lot. when trying to get that thing off. And also it has a neat little, well, plastic, rubbery stopper or whatever you want to call it. I haven't seen that either. It's normally a little piece of plastic or something that clips in, but that's cool. Just a little couple different touches. So we get this Spur gear cover on and move on to the next step. I'm building the drive shaft, and the one screw that they include to attach the head to the drive shaft, it doesn't fit. So I was freaking out just a little bit. And then I remembered that when I opened bag A, there was one screw loose in the bag, not in any of the little sub bags. They're labeled bag A2, A3, and so on. There's one screw just sitting loose in the bag. So this is a fix, I believe, to go into this drive shaft. So yes, that's the correct screw. So the loose screw in bag A is the screw that's supposed to go into the drive shaft instead of the supplied screw that's in the bag with the rest of the drive shaft parts. Got the drive shaft together. It has the craziest little spring that protects the little rod that holds the top on. I don't know if that's picking up, but there's a little spring there, and that's what holds the little rod in that allows it to pivot. It's really hard to get that on, but I got it on. Move on to the next step. Now I'm starting the process of installing the shift servo onto the transmission that I built earlier. I'm using the Hi-Tech HS225MG. I've already attached the servo horn, the Servo Saver that comes with it. They ask you to use the Servo Saver, and since I'm using a Hi-Tech servo, I had to go out and get a special screw to fit, because Hi-Tech uses 2.5 millimeter hexes, and the screw provided is a 3.0 millimeter hex. But anyway, I got that straightened out. Screws in. Little ball connects to the shift selector here, and the shift servo pulls it forward and backwards in order to shift the gears. So we get this servo screwed down with the provided servo mounts. So I got the transmission all built, the shift servos installed. I waterproofed the shift servo with Plasti Dip. Just dropped it in, and then I took the cover off before I Plasti Dipped it and put a good coating of marine grease in there. So hopefully that'll hold up pretty well. I've had good luck with Hi-Tech and water, so I'm not too worried about that. If so, I'll replace it. It's a $20 servo just for the shift, so it'll be okay. Got the drive shafts partially installed, ready to link up to the axles with that weird spring in there. Axial 27 turn motor in there, beats the 15 that comes with it, and hopefully it'll do fine. If not, we'll change it out. We'll see how it does first though. That cool motor mount. And that's about it for the transmission and the shift servo.